Hello students, good morning to all. In my previous video, I had gone through your syllabus, second semester syllabus. Right now, in today's session, I would like to go through a short fiction entitled A Visit of Charity by Eudora Welty. So, it's a first lesson under Unit 1 in your syllabus, A Visit of Charity by Eudora Welty. So, before going into the paragraph explanation in the textbook, let me go through the introduction of the poet Welty. Look at here. Eudora Welty was an American short story writer. Her literary career took off with the publication of her first story, Death of a Traveling Salesman, in a literary magazine. She was a prolific author and wrote stories in multiple genres. Her stories often portray relationships between the individuals and their communities. So look at here, she was an American short story writer, and what was her first story? Death of a Traveling Salesman. Next, and she had written so many stories. Now, Welty won numerous awards for her work, including the Pulitzer Prize in 1973 for her novel The Optimist's Daughter. Optimist's Daughter. So she won numerous awards for her work. Yes, what is the prize? Including Pulitzer Prize. Here R silent. Pulitzer, Pulitzer Prize for her novel. Next, coming to the about a story, A Visit of Charity. Here, A Visit of Charity tells the story of 14-year-old Marian and her visit to an old lady's home. Marian is in a youth development organization in America called Campfire, and one of her duties which will earn her extra points is to visit a home for the elderly. During her visit, she reluctantly spends time with two elderly ailing women and discovers they live in cold, uncomfortable rooms and suffer from loneliness. Look at here. Here, A Visit of Charity. This story tells about a Marian. She's 14-year-old lady. Actually, she's a campfire girl. What is a campfire? She's a member of youth developmental organization in America. So one of the duties of Marian is that to earn extra points by visiting a home for the elderly. So what is her duty? To earn extra points in her organization, she had visited a home. What is that? An old lady's home. Next, look at here. During her visit, she reluctantly spends time. So what is that? So here the narrator describes that here Marian had visited the lady's home just to gain extra points. That's it. Unwillingly, she had visited to an old lady's home. Yes, and even she spends time. She reluctantly spends time over there. So instead of caring and consoling them, she goes to gain points. So this shows her selfishness. Yes, she is very selfish girl. So here how the old ladies, they are very ailing. ailing, ailing woman. So what is that ailing? Illness. So how they are? They live in cold, uncomfortable rooms and suffer from loneliness. So, they are suffering from loneliness. Now, coming to the next point. Marian panics at the sight of their grief and instead of consoling them, flees. The story portrays how the meaning of charity has changed from caring for and trying to help others to trying to earn points or keeping up appearances. Look at here. So here Marian had visited this home just to gain money. Just to gain points, extra 3 points. That's it. Instead of consoling them or caring them, just she is interested in her points. So the story portrays how the meaning of charity. So here the charity meaning has changed from caring and consoling to what is that? Selfishness character. Yes, totally changed. The meaning of charity has totally changed. It makes readers contemplate the motives people have for performing acts of charity. As even the nurse, who is expected to be compassionate, is indifferent to the elderly woman's suffering. So here the narrator describes about the nurse character. So she is expected to be compassionate. What is that? Very loving and caring. But she seemed to be very rigid. Now, let me go through the paragraph explanation. A Visit of Charity by Eudora Welty. Now coming to the paragraphs. So in the textbook they had given you pre-reading questions. What are they? Let me read it out. Have you ever tried to help someone in need? Why or why not? Yes, mostly everybody. Yes, mostly they help needy people. Next coming to next point. Describe your relationship with your grandparents. It's very good. Third one. Have you ever visited a home for the aged? If you have, how did you feel when you interacted with the elderly people there? Yes. Got it? Now coming to the paragraph explanation. Look at here. It was mid-morning. A very cold, bright day. Holding a potted plant before her, a girl of 14 jumped off the bus in front of the old lady's home on the outskirts of town. Look at here, the story begins in mid-morning. Begins in the mid-morning. It's very cold and bright day. Okay. Here, Marian. So, Marian is holding a potted plant. And she jumped from the bus in front of old lady's home. So, which is situated in the outskirts of the town. Now, she wore a red coat and her straight yellow hair was hanging down loose from the pointed white cap all the little girls were wearing that year. So here the narrator describes about Marian. She wore a red coat and her straight yellow hair was hanging down loose from the pointed white cap. Now look at here. She stopped for a moment beside one of the prickly dark shrubs with which the city had beautified the home. So, in front of the home, she stopped for a moment and she jumped from the bus. Yes, already I discussed. She jumped from the bus in front of the old lady's home. Here, the narrator describes the words, the prickly dark shrubs with which the city had beautified. The narrator showed, here he shows beautification of the city. So, beautification of the city. and then proceeded slowly towards the building, which was of whitewashed brick and reflected the winter sunlight like a block of ice. So here the narrator describes about home. So the home, just it is made up of whitewashed bricks, and here he describes that the sunlight reflection, actually it's making the home to look as a block of ice. Yes, the sunlight reflection is making the home to look like a block of ice. Is it clear? Block of ice. Next, as she walked vaguely up the steps, she shifted the small pot from hand to hand. Then she had to set it down and remove her mittens before she could open the heavy door. So, what is that? Here, the narrator is describing about the walking style of the girl. So, the girl walks very vaguely towards the home, steps of the home. Yes, anyway, she's carrying a pot. Yes, holding a potted plant. And when she is about to reach to the door, just she had taken her mittens. Yes, because it's very cold day, so she had wear these mittens, and right now she removed that mittens. Now let me go to next paragraph. I am a campfire girl. I have to pay a visit to some old lady, she told the nurse at the desk. This was a woman in a white uniform who looked as if she were cold. She had close-cut hair which stood up on the very top of her head exactly like a sea wave. Look at here. Now, Marian, anyway, finally she entered into the home. So, there at the desk, she had seen a nurse, and she is saying that I'm a campfire girl. I have to pay a visit to some old lady. Yes, she is saying to nurse, I'm a campfire girl. So here, right now, here the narrator describes about the nurse. Here the nurse, she is in white uniform. She wore a white uniform, and here, look at here, who looked as if she were cold. Here the narrator describes the character of the nurse, not the temperature. It's not a room temperature. She were cold. What is that? Here the narrator describes her character, nurse character. Next, she had close cut hair. It's a short hair. Next, Marian, the little girl, did not tell her that this visit would give her a minimum of only 3 points in her score. See, look at here. Here, Marian just says that I have to pay a visit. That's it. But she doesn't want to say about what is that about her gaining of points, extra 3 points in her organization. So, just she said to nurse that she has to visit some old ladies. That's it. Actually, she don't want to reveal that. Whatever about her points, extra 3 points, gaining of extra 3 points. Is it clear? Now, look at here. Acquainted with any of our residents? Asked the nurse. She lifted one eyebrow and spoke like a man. With any old ladies? No, but that is, any of them will do, Mariam stammered. With her free hand, she pushed her hair behind her ears as she did when it was time to study science. Look at here. So she lifted, who is she? Nurse. She lifted one eyebrow and spoke like a man. Yes. Nurse had spoke in such a way with Marian. Now look at here, whatever the narrator described, she did when it was time to study science. So what is that here? The girl, what the narrator is saying, that the girl is not probably comfortable to study science. What is that? So she gets so much nervous. She's so much nervous because she's not comfortable to study science. So right now she entered into the room, yes, home, and she had a she had a conversation with nurse, but she's so much nervous. Yes, because she's not that much comfortable with this study of science. Next, coming to the next paragraph, the nurse shrugged and rose. You have a nice multiflora cineraria there. What is this? This is multiflora cineraria. This is a potter plant. Whatever she's holding in her hands. Then nurse she says that yes, they are very nice. They are very nice. She gives compliment. Yes, they are very good. She remarked as she walked ahead down the hall of closed doors to pick out an old lady. So now nurse she gives compliment and she moves forward and says Marian to follow her. Now they are walking in the corridor. Look at here. There was a loose bulging linoleum. Linoleum. Linoleum on the floor. Actually it's a material which covers the floor. Yes. There was a loose bulging linoleum on the floor. Marian felt as if she were walking on the waves, but the nurse paid no attention to it. So what it is saying, that what the narrator describing, that the corridor, whatever that, it shows that there is no proper maintenance of the corridor. Yes. Loose bulging linoleum, no proper maintenance of the room. But as this nurse habituated to this house, so here she paid no attention to it. Now coming to next point, there was a smell in the hall like the, look at here, like the interior of a clock. Yes, so it's a strange smell. Everything was silent until behind one of the doors an old lady of some kind cleared her throat like a sheep bleating. So look at here. Here, just they are walking. Nurse and Marian both are walking in the corridor. So suddenly they heard an old lady's voice. So here the old lady's voice is compared with sheep voice. Sheep bleating. What is that? Sheep's bleating. So here her voice is compared with sheep bleating. This decided the nurse. Stopping in her tracks, she first extended her arm, bent her elbow, and leaned forward from the hips, all to examine the watch strapped to her wrist. Then she gave a loud double rap on the door. Look at here. So here narrator compares an old lady's voice with what is the sheep's voice. So nurse probably stopped over there, and she decided to introduce whatever the Marian to old ladies who are there in the room. So she stopped there and just she knocked that door of that room. As soon as they heard the voice of that old lady in the room, the nurse stopped over there and she knocked the door. Next, there are two in each room, the nurse remarked over her shoulder. To what? Asked Marian without thinking. The sound like a sheep's bleating. almost made her turn around and run back. Look at here now. Just the nurse is she's knocking the door. Then, anyway, the old woman, she opened the door. Look at here. There are two in each room. Yes. Then Marian, she was asking, to what? Asked Marian. So by this strange voice, whatever the old lady's voice, made Marian to run back. Yes, Marian wanted to run back from this home. Look at here. One old woman was pulling the door open in short, gradual jerks, and when she saw the nurse, look at here, when she saw the nurse, a strange smile forced her old face dangerously awry. What is the meaning of this? Arrive unexpected. Yes, look at here. So here the narrator describes that probably the old lady does not have enough energy to pull the door. So the door opened in short, gradual jerks. Understood? Here, one old woman, she was pulling the door. Yes, she is opening the door. But as she is very old, she doesn't have enough energy to pull that door. So she opened in short. Yes. And as soon as she opened, so she saw a nurse and Marian, and she was shocked like anything, and she gave a strange smile forced for her old face. It's a terrible smile because it's very shocking news for that old lady. Yes. Next, coming to the next. Marian suddenly propelled by the strong, impatient arm of the nurse, saw next the side face of another woman, even older, who was lying flat in bed with a cap on and a counterpane drawn up to her chin. Look at here. Here the nurse, one old woman, she was she pulled the door. So slowly she pulled the door. Now the nurse, the nurse is very impatient, and she wants to get the work done immediately. So she is very impatient. So she pulled she pushed the door. Forcefully she pushed that door. Yes. So what happened? Marian, even she had seen another old lady, even older than the first old woman. That second lady, yes, she is very old. She was lying flat in bed with a cap. Yes, in this story, total, probably there are 4 characters are there. Yes, there are 4 characters. Yes. So what is the main character? Marian, next to nurse, and 2 old ladies in the home.